been around longer than toast. Welcome to Table Talk, Episode 2. Hey, welcome back. Well, thanks. It's good to be back. Would you like to hear about war by chance? Sure, why not? Okay, so let's start way back in 2700 BC, where the first recorded war took place in Mesopotamia. Sargon the Great, catchy title, as he made the Akkadian Empire. Just assume I don't know what that is. Well, the Akkadian Empire took over Mesopotamia from the Sumer. Now, the Sumer were a relatively peaceful group. They were known for building canals and these things called boundary stones, which, as the name suggests, marked the edge of their boundary. Oh cool, but why did Sargon attack the Sumerians? What did they ever do to him? Well, you see, way back then, it didn't matter if you were peaceful. It was all free-for-all, for land. And Sargon the Great clearly wanted a lot of it. Clearly. But slightly off topic, do you know what the difference between a war, a battle, and a siege is? Well, a war is basically a more intense version of a battle that involves two or more people getting angry at each other about either land or who gets the last slice of pizza. A battle is smaller and is usually confined to a smaller space. And as for a siege, it happens during war sometimes, where the enemy surrounds a town and cuts off supplies until they surrender. It's a good tactic in my opinion, not so good for the people getting sieged. Whoa, I thought they were all like the same thing. Who knew? I did. Anyways, back to wars. So we move on from the very first war because nothing much happened, and there's not a lot of information to be learned about that war. The first big war that everybody knows about, World War I, there's actually a lot of things most people don't know about it. Like, if it didn't happen, then World War II wouldn't have happened. Instead, it would be called World War I, and there wouldn't be a World War II. Totally kidding, of course. But instead, crazy thing, like, the youngest person to be drafted into the war was a kid who was literally 8 years old, ended up sending his parents, grandparents, and 7 of his siblings into a very long sleep. The bro had some family issues for sure. Wow, lil bro got mad when his mom ate the last slice of pizza, apparently. But my question is, why did they even let him into the army in the first place? Bro needs to learn how to tie his shoes before they let him handle a large hunk of metal that puts people into sleep forever. Anyways, that's only one fact, and unlike the rest of people involved in the war, who mostly had bread and water, the French were able to have almost a liter of wine every day. Sounds like a very French thing to have. And speaking of the French, they sent a carrier pigeon during the war that was shot, lost an eye, and had a leg that was literally about to fall off. And it was still able to deliver a message that saved almost 100 American soldiers, and even got a French award that I'm not going to try to pronounce. I strive to be like that pigeon. And did you know that elephants were used during the war to haul scrap metal along with other things? Imagine you're fighting with some random guy and you see an elephant holding enough scrap metal to make a plane walk by. That would be a funny sight. Dude, how did we get from wars to talking about elephants holding metal? You needed to learn how to stay on top. And some tourists that were visiting Britain, when they heard that the war was starting, they got together with other tourists and all bought a ship called the Viking and sailed back to America. Sounds like an expensive idea, but hey, might have saved their lives. I don't got that kind of money, but if I did, I would probably do the exact same thing. And just days after the war started, the British started something called the Defense of the Realm Act, which, among other things, made it illegal to fly a kite and feed bread to ducks. That makes no sense. Why can't you feed bread to ducks during the war? And while soldiers were digging trenches, they dug up weaponry that dated back 100 to 200 years. What a find. Bro really hit the jackpot. And the Germans, for part of the war, could almost only eat turnips for an entire year, because there was no way for them to get anything else. I would be sick of eating turnips after having them for 2 meals in a row, and these people had to have it every meal for a year? I could never. Real. I wouldn't even want to have them for 1 meal, dog. And that is actually the first war where tanks were used. And speaking of tanks, did you know tanks actually have genders? How goofy is that? Weird. Oh, looks like the pizza has arrived. I think I should end it here. I'll see you next time, Bean. Oh, okay. See ya.